22 Japanese kitchen secrets that will change the way you cook. Picture this. You make Japanese food at home and it tastes good. But the moment you sit down at a real ramen shop or a sushi counter, the gap is obvious. The tempura is lighter. The tofu is crispier. The broth is deeper. Even the shredded cabbage next to the fried pork somehow tastes better than the whole meal you cooked last night. And you start to wonder what they know that you don't. Here is the secret. It is almost never expensive ingredients. It is a collection of tiny techniques, small adjustments of temperature, timing, and texture that Japanese cooks reach for without even thinking. Today, we are counting down 22 of them, the kind of details that quietly turn home cooking into something that tastes restaurant-made. Stay until the end, because the final few are the ones you will wish you had known years ago. Let's get into it. Number 22. Use ice-cold water for tempura batter. Most home tempura fails before it ever touches the oil. The batter gets mixed with room temperature water until it is smooth. And smooth means gluten. And gluten makes the coating heavy and bready. Japanese cooks do the opposite. They use ice-cold water, sometimes with a few ice cubes floating right in the bowl, and they barely mix it. Lumps are not a mistake. Lumps are the goal. The colder the batter stays, the less gluten forms, and the coating fries into a thin, lacy shell that stays crisp far longer. If your tempura has ever come out thick or oily, this one temperature change fixes it. Number 21. Dissolve your salt in the vinegar before seasoning rice. When people season sushi rice, they often sprinkle salt straight onto the hot rice, and it never spreads evenly. Japanese cooks stir the salt, and usually a little sugar, into the rice vinegar first until it is fully dissolved, then fold that liquid through the rice. Every grain gets seasoned the same, and the flavor comes out cleaner and more balanced. It takes 10 extra seconds, and it kills those random salty bites that make homemade sushi feel amateur. Number 20. Press your tofu before you cook it. Tofu is mostly water, and if you cook it straight from the package, that water turns to steam, and steam is the enemy of browning. Japanese cooks wrap the block in a clean cloth or paper towels, set a plate on top with a little weight, and leave it 15 to 20 minutes. You will be amazed how much liquid runs out. The tofu firms up, soaks up marinade far better, and develops a real golden crust instead of a pale, wet surface. This is one of the biggest differences between restaurant tofu and the tofu most people make at home. Number 19. Coat tofu in potato starch, not flour. For something like dashi tofu, the coating should be almost invisible. Flour builds a thick crust that turns doughy. Potato starch does the opposite, frying into a thin, glassy layer that stays crisp even after it meets the broth. Pat the tofu dry, dust it lightly with potato starch, shake off the excess, and fry until pale gold. The outside shatters gently while the inside stays silky and soft. It is a small swap with a dramatic difference. Number 18. Add grated onion to your chicken marinade. This sounds strange until you try it. Grated onion carries natural enzymes that tenderize chicken, and it adds sweetness and savory depth without making the meat taste oniony. Japanese cooks often mix grated onion with soy sauce, a splash of sake, and a little ginger. Even a quick 30-minute soak leaves the chicken noticeably juicier and more flavorful. And it is especially good for karaage and teriyaki. The onion practically disappears, but the effect does not. Number 17. Stir a small piece of butter into ramen broth. Traditional ramen does not always use butter, but plenty of shops, especially up in Hokkaido, finish a bowl with a little. The whole trick is restraint. Half a teaspoon is enough, stirred into hot miso or shoyu ramen right before serving. The butter rounds off any sharp edges, carries the aroma, and makes the broth feel fuller without tasting like Western soup. Too much turns it heavy, but a tiny amount gives you that restaurant richness you can never quite put your finger on. Number 16. Cook udon in plenty of water and never add oil. A lot of home cooks add oil to their pasta water out of habit. With udon, skip it, because oil stops the broth and sauce from clinging to the noodles later. Use a big pot with lots of water so the noodles move freely. Then rinse them briefly after cooking to wash off the excess surface starch. What you get is springy, clean-tasting udon that actually holds onto the broth instead of sliding away from it. Number 15. Rinse your soba in cold water and rub it gently. Soba releases a slippery starch as it cooks, and if you only drain it, that starch makes the noodles taste gummy. Japanese cooks rinse soba under cold running water and gently rub the strands between their hands. That washes off the excess starch and tightens the texture, giving you the firm, slightly chewy bite good soba is supposed to have. It is 1 extra minute that makes an enormous difference in the bowl. Number 14. Save a little of your noodle cooking water. That cloudy water you are about to pour away is full of starch, and starch helps a sauce grip the noodles. Add a few spoonfuls to your sauce before you toss the udon or soba in. It helps the sauce emulsify and turn silkier, coating every strand instead of pooling at the bottom. Italian cooks do exactly this with pasta water, and the same principle works beautifully with Japanese noodles. Number 13. Use grated daikon to balance rich food. In Japan, a small mound of grated daikon comes served beside grilled fish, tempura, and fried pork. And it is not just decoration. Raw daikon is full of digestive enzymes that actually help break down fat and starch, which is exactly why it has been paired with oily food for centuries. On top of that, its cool, juicy sharpness cuts through grease and salt and refreshes your palate between bites. A little freshly grated daikon with a few drops of soy sauce can turn a heavy dish from tiring into something you cannot stop eating. Number 12. Turn leftover nori into homemade furikake. Do not throw away those broken, half-crumbled sheets of nori. Cut them into thin strips and mix them with freshly toasted sesame seeds and a pinch of salt. Add a little sugar or some crushed bonito if you like, but even the plain version is fantastic. Scatter it over rice, eggs, tofu, or vegetables. It takes 2 minutes and tastes far fresher and cleaner than almost anything you can buy in a jar. Number 11. Warm your nori for 2 seconds before using it. Nori quietly pulls moisture from the air, and that is why it can taste flat or go chewy. Japanese cooks pass it over a flame or hold it above a hot pan for just a second or two. The heat wakes the aroma back up and brings the crispness right back. The change is instant. The seaweed turns fragrant and brittle again. And it makes home-rolled sushi and rice bowls feel far more restaurant-like. Number 10, mix your eggs with chopsticks, not a whisk. For tamagoyaki and most Japanese egg dishes, you want a smooth texture, not a foamy one. A whisk beats in a lot of air, which leaves bubbles and an uneven surface. Chopsticks break the egg up gently while keeping it calm, so the cooked egg comes out finer, silkier, and more even. It is a tiny habit Japanese cooks do almost without noticing, and it shows in the final texture. Number 9, re-oil the pan between each layer of tamagoyaki. If you have ever made a rolled Japanese omelet, you know the first layer looks perfect, and then the next ones start to stick. The fix is to wipe a very thin film of oil into the pan before every new layer. The surface stays evenly slick, the egg rolls cleanly each time, and the finished tamagoyaki has that glossy, smooth look you see behind the sushi counter. Number 8, add a pinch of salt to your matcha. This one is borrowed from both tea and dessert making. A tiny pinch of salt will not make matcha taste salty. It suppresses the bitterness and lets the sweeter, savory notes come forward. Use far less than you think, just a few grains for a bowl or a dessert mix. The flavor rounds out and softens, and that harsh green edge that puts some people off simply fades away. Number 7, soak dried wakame for only a few minutes. Wakame expands dramatically in water. Leave it in too long, 10 or 15 minutes, and it turns soft and slippery and loses its character. Japanese cooks soak it for just 3 to 5 minutes, then drain it well. That keeps a pleasant bite and a cleaner, fresher flavor in the finished soup or salad. With seaweed, more soaking time is not better, it is worse. Number 6, let your tonkatsu rest after frying. Straight out of the oil, the crust is still settling and the juices inside the pork are racing around. Cut into it right away and steam bursts out. The coating goes soft and the meat dries. Rest it 2 minutes on a rack, never on a plate, so air moves all the way around the crust. The pork stays juicier and the coating stays shatteringly crisp. It is the same patience you would give a good steak, and it pays off just as much. Number 5, slice your cabbage almost paper thin for tonkatsu. The shredded cabbage next to tonkatsu is not an afterthought. It is cut so fine it turns light and airy instead of chunky and watery. A sharp knife or a mandolin gets you there. Then rinse the shreds in cold water and dry them well. The texture comes out crisp, fluffy, and cloud-like, and suddenly that pile of cabbage is something you actually want to eat, not push aside. Number 4, add a few drops of lemon to your dashi. Not enough to taste sour, just 2 or 3 drops in a bowl of dashi-based soup. It brightens the umami and makes the whole flavor feel clearer and more defined, like adjusting the focus on a camera. The broth does not become lemony, it becomes vivid. It is the smallest possible adjustment, and it sharpens everything that was already there. Number 3, add the sugar before the soy sauce in teriyaki. Order matters more than people realize. When you make teriyaki, dissolve the sugar in the pan first, usually with a little sake or mirin, and add the soy sauce afterward. Put the soy sauce in first and the sugar dissolves unevenly. leaving the glaze rough. Sugar first gives you a smoother, glossier sauce that clings beautifully to chicken, fish, or tofu. That lacquered shine you see in restaurant teriyaki. Number 2, warm your bowl before serving ramen or miso soup. This one seems too simple to matter, and yet restaurants do it every single time. Pour hot water into the empty bowl while the soup finishes. Then tip it out and dry the bowl just before serving. A cold bowl steals heat from the broth the instant it lands. A warm bowl keeps ramen, udon, or miso soup hotter for much longer, so the aroma keeps rising and the noodles stay pleasant to the last bite. It costs nothing, and it makes the whole meal feel more considered. Number 1, make a vegetarian dashi with kombu and shiitake. And here is the one that surprises people most, and it actually came from a viewer question asking whether the bonito in dashi could be swapped for shiitake mushrooms. The answer is yes, completely. And it turns out kombu and dried shiitake make one of the classic vegetarian dashi combinations used in Buddhist temple cooking. Put a piece of kombu and 2 or 3 dried shiitake into cold water and let them soak for at least 4 hours, ideally overnight. Then heat the water slowly, lift the kombu out just before it boils, and let the shiitake steep a few minutes more. What you get is a broth that is deep, earthy, and packed with natural umami. Completely different from bonito dashi, but every bit as satisfying and a beautiful option for anyone who wants a richer, mushroom-forward base. It is proof that the deepest flavor in the Japanese kitchen often comes from the quietest ingredients. And there you have it. 22 Japanese kitchen secrets that go far beyond the usual rice and soy sauce advice. The small details of temperature, timing, and texture that restaurants lean on every day. Start with 3 or 4 this week. Use ice-cold tempura batter, press your tofu, warm your nori, save your noodle water, and try that kombu and shiitake dashi. None of these are complicated chef moves. They are tiny adjustments, and together they make home cooking taste dramatically more authentic. If this helped you, drop a comment and tell me which trick surprised you the most. I read every one. And if you want more deep dives into the quiet wisdom of the Japanese kitchen, subscribe and stay with me. I will see you in the next one.